Let's talk about something truly insidious. Imagine your deepest beliefs, the trust you have in your family and your faith, all being twisted and used as weapons to defraud you. This is a story about how that exact nightmare became a reality and how one woman's devastating loss sparked an unexpected crusade for justice.
She came into my home, called me sister, quoted Hadith, and lied through her teeth. Wow, those are the words of a woman named Razia Malik, and they just perfectly capture the cold, calculated deception at the heart of her story. This is a classic case of something called affinity fraud, and we're about to break down exactly how it works.
So, our story really kicks off at a moment of extreme vulnerability. You've got Razia and her husband Faisal, and they are in a really tough spot. Razia is living with a degenerative spinal disease, which means constant pain, and she can't work. Faisal, he's her full-time caregiver. The financial strain was just immense. They were desperate. And this right here is the key to the whole thing. Affinity fraud isn't some random con. No, it's a targeted attack. It weaponizes the very things that hold a community together. Shared language, faith, customs. The scammer slides in, pretending to be one of us, and that makes it so much easier for people to let their guard down.
For Razia, what looked like a lifeline showed up in a message from her cousin Nabila. Now, this is someone she grew up with, someone she trusted completely, and Nabila is vouching for this investor, Ghazala Din, saying she's not just good with money, but spiritual and ethical. So right away, the introduction isn't from a stranger, it's coming from inside the family.
So when Ghazala comes to visit their home, she plays the part to perfection. She's building that personal connection, complementing their religious decor, and then she hits them with the pitch. And it sounds like it was made just for them. It's Sharia compliant, so no forbidden interest, and the returns, they're incredible. For a family struggling to even pay the bills, this didn't just sound good, it sounded like a prayer answered.
Her husband, Faisal, he was cautious, a little skeptical. But Razia, she was just exhausted from the daily struggle, and she felt this powerful wave of hope. She literally said, maybe this is Allah opening a door for us. She convinced him this was their one chance, sent from above, to finally get on their feet. So they invested their savings.
And you know what? For 2 whole months, it looked like Razia was absolutely right. The £500 payments, they arrived right on schedule. And this wasn't just abstract money. This was a paid-off gas bill. It was a new fridge to replace their broken one. For Razia, it was a second-hand recliner that finally let her sleep without pain. It felt like, for the first time in a long time, they could actually breathe.
So how did this happen? I mean, how did she pull this off so convincingly? To really get it, we need to look at the anatomy of the deception, the actual mechanics of how this trust was so carefully, so systematically built, just so it could be completely destroyed. This really breaks it down perfectly. The whole scam rested on 4 pillars. First, you've got the trusted referral from family. That's pillar 1. Second, that spiritual bond she faked by calling Razia's sister and quoting scripture. Pillar 3, the proof, those first few payments that made it all feel so real. And finally, that air of professionalism with official-looking documents that seemed totally legitimate. It was, honestly, a masterclass in manipulation. Just as quickly as that hope had arrived, the whole dream just collapsed into an absolute nightmare, because suddenly, the money stopped.
Month 3 rolls around, and the payment, it just never shows up. At first, Razia's texts are being marked as seen, but she gets no reply. A week later, she tries to call, and what do you know? The phone number has been disconnected. The collapse was just that fast and that brutal.
So, completely panicked at this point, she calls her cousin Nabila, and that's when the floor just drops out from under her. Nabila hadn't been paid either, and she couldn't reach Ghazala. And that's when the awful realization hit them both. They'd been scammed. Their spiritual sister, she had just vanished.
And to make an awful situation even worse, the official response was, well, it was just terrible. When they went to report the crime, an officer actually told them, "She didn't force you, you gave it willingly." I mean, that just completely misses the entire point, doesn't it? The crime wasn't about physical force. It was about the calculated, cruel betrayal of trust.
So the money was gone. But out of all that pain and betrayal, something really powerful, something totally unexpected started to grow. A new voice emerged. Because Razia refused to be a silent victim.
And this is where the story takes this incredible turn. Razia channels all of her anger, not into despair, but into action. She goes from being this isolated victim, pretty much trapped in her home by her illness, into a fierce advocate who is determined to protect her community.
She started her own personal crusade to warn everybody. She got up and spoke at the women's circle at her local mosque. She sent out warnings through all the community WhatsApp groups. She contacted Islamic finance charities. She was just determined that nobody else was going to fall into this same trap.
And guess what? It worked. As she kept speaking out, her story made it clear she wasn't alone. Pretty soon, other victims started coming forward. Sisters from Bordsley Green, an auntie from Sparkhill, all of them scammed by the same woman using the exact same lie. Her one voice was creating a whole network for people who had been suffering in silence.
Razia's incredible journey from victim to advocate really leaves us with this critical and, honestly, very difficult question. How do you protect yourself from those who weaponize trust? Her story is this powerful reminder that the very bonds that make a community strong can also be its greatest vulnerability. And it kind of forces us all to think about where we draw the line between faith and vigilance.